Okay, thank you for tuning into Stampscaping 101. Working in the same spirit as my composition, scale, and creating depth within a given space series of videos comes the series or the episode on your skies. Okay, skies can be seen as just an overall background. Okay, you can have foreground in a scene, midground, background mountains, or something like that. A lot of times we tend to see skies as just, okay, that's your sky, that's the background up there. But one of the things that's really fun to do in sky areas, okay, or it could just be whole skyscapes, is adding depth and deep space within those given areas within a scene, okay? Now I've just focused on just only sky in these compositions right here, but as I mentioned in the video, any one of these types of treatments of these cards here can be done in a landscape. You would just stamp out your land and then do these types of things in the space that you've retained, you know, in whatever size card you're working in. So, but I just want to focus on the skies, and I've done them in a couple different types of colors right here. I've kind of had one that was kind of in warmer tones, giving me the option of doing something like a sunset type of scene. Same thing goes for right here with the sun over these Altocumulus clouds. And just navy blue. We have a couple half sheets of paper. This one done in black. Maybe it can look like a spooky, you know, Halloween scene or whatnot. Deep space with spiral galaxy right here. Kind of giving it a real whimsical type of look, because you wouldn't really see a spiral galaxy here on Earth, you know, that close. And kind of the moonrise coming up in between my two banks of clouds and this little thin strip of opening right there. So we'll have to tone all these ones in and start to flesh these ones out. This one's done in a purple. That used to be one of my favorite colors as a kid. Still love it. But we'll try to bring in some depth in this given space right here. Just using some different tones and textures, and I'll see what we can do with all of these scenes in the next video. But this video right here is just how to kind of use your sky figures and to blend them together and to think about how to compose them. Okay, so you see how these ones are all done too, like this. So if you get kind of these harsh edges like that, you know that I get them too, but it's just all in the blending of them, okay? Some of them just blend together just fine inherently, but, you know, there's a little bit of depth in there, but there's not a lot, so that's where kind of some additional tones will really start to kind of define what these spaces can be within your scenes, okay? So a lot of fun stuff ahead. I love sky imagery, and hope you enjoy this video. Thanks for watching. Okay, let's talk about sky figures. I'm a big fan of different types of sky figures. I love deep space imagery like galaxies, and this one's called Star Birth. Things coming back from the, you know, some of those first images from the Hubble telescope. And I like our own skies, like crescent moons. I like full moons, gibbous moons. I like it all. I tend to like these types of images because they tend to set the mood for a scene. No matter what you have going on in a scene, as far as landscapes go, and as far as how, you know, dynamic they might be, often the mood of a scene is set by what type of sky imagery you put in there. The sky imagery in a kind of a natural setting will often be the light source of a scene. So the color of the light often influences the overall mood of a scene. So, that being said, and staying within the same kind of subject matter of depth and perspective, as it applies to scenic imagery, I thought we'd talk a little bit about that as it applies to our skies. We want our skies to be nice and deep in terms of the imagery that we set in it, as opposed to it being kind of looking like it's all one distance, which is easy to do when it comes to sky figures, okay? Now, there's a lot of different approaches as far as achieving depth within your skies, okay? And I'll try to talk about all of the ones that, you know, the tricks that I use when doing it, okay? And we'll try a few different techniques as far as achieving some depth within your sky images, or sky areas within your scenes, okay? All right, now what I'm going to do on these next few scenes that I do, these stamp sketches, is I'm going to just focus on skies. So it's going to be more like a skyscape, you know, than a landscape with some sky in it. But that being said, I'm just doing that for the sake of showing, you know, focusing in on, you know, sky imagery. But anything that I do on a page like this can be done in a smaller section if it's within kind of a landscape. So these clouds can easily be behind this Lakeside Cove stamp, or, you know, this autumn type image, the autumn brook. But what you'd do is you would stamp these types of things out, typically mask them off a little bit, and then stamp, you know, your sky figures right above it, typically. When you get to something like a body of water like this, one of the things that's really fun is to place your sky images, you know, above, you know, your horizon line, and to have it reflected down in the water as well. And that's kind of a little trick to get extra, you know, an extra excuse to put additional sky figures within the landscape, you know, and it makes for a dramatic, mirrored type of image, okay? So that being said, let's just focus in on skies, or the sky imagery, and the blending of skies, and then what we'll do is we'll push the depth within that area, okay? So this just happens to be the Cloud Cumulus. The Cloud Cumulus happens to be a really good filler stamp as far as the blending of some different sky images, okay? I have grass textures for blending several types of landscape elements together, you know, like a meadow and a tree and a cabin or something like that. Grass textures tend to bring all that together. Water texture brings all kinds of different water types of elements together. But additional clouds can really bring a lot of different sky imagery together, okay? And you'll see what I mean when I get into this here. Okay. So we have this bank of clouds right here, and here is a crescent moon, and I'm just inking this up in a navy blue, very similar to Danube blue. I'm guessing that if you have a fair share of dye-based inks, you probably have, you know, somewhat of a medium to dark blue within your supplies there. Alright, now this one I'm bringing down into my clouds a little bit because I want some overlapping to occur. Get plenty of pressure in the center of larger stamps, especially larger stamps with a lot of surface area. I stand up when I'm doing typically, you know, like this size of stamp, just to get some extra leverage in there. Okay? And you notice we have this area above. What I can do is I can take some of these additional cloud forms like that, and I can stamp those again up there, or I can flip this around and have these clouds that are down here come from above like that. But I tell you what, let's use a bit of this bottom area here. So, and I'll get some additional cloud textures in that space. I don't want two moons, but I'm just kind of using this portion of it, okay? I'm not getting that moon texture in there again, okay? So, one of the things that you can do is you can use portions of your larger stamps for a different purpose, and this time in terms of it being kind of a filler texture. Okay, So remember, that's the way that these designs have been rendered, with the idea of being able to use them with their sibling images, stamps from, the rest of the line, and hopefully they blend in well with stamps from other companies. You can use Stampscape stamps as basically backgrounds for showcasing other types of subject matter, people, word stamps, whatever. Okay, so anyways, we have a lot of filler textures in here, just using the imagery off of this same existing design. Okay, now in theory you could probably fill up this entire thing just with clouds off of this image, but what I would do is if I had a vast area to fill in as opposed to smaller areas like that, I would probably wipe that area clean, that area of the moon, just so I wouldn't get, like 2 moons in here. Unless you want to do something like that, otherworldly type of thing, so you have these 2 kind of celestial bodies in the sky, which is, it makes for an interesting look, okay? So anyways, we get this blending occurring in here. We have this bank of clouds right here, the background moon, with some additional types of clouds. And when you look into any type of sky, be it daytime, sunset, twilight, whatever, you'll often see different types of clouds out there. Sometimes it's only cumulus, maybe it's kind of a rainy day or something like that, but you'll find stratus, altocumulus, cumulonimbus, nimbus or whatever. You'll find all kinds of a vast array of different types of clouds, within your one given sky that you can see, okay? So mix and match, and play around with things like that, okay? So anyways, what I have here is I have a bank of clouds down here, and when I get into the toning portion and really pushing depth within here, I'm guessing that these clouds right here, the cumulus clouds, will be closer to us, and I'll try to push back some of those other clouds in the background. But first things first, let's get some compositions down, and let's see how some of these different types of clouds can come together, okay? Or different types of sky figures. All right, this one is kind of a mackerel sky, otherwise known as Altocumulus. All right, one of the things with sky figures too, sky's the limit as far as what types of colors you want to do with it. If I want to do this at noon or something of that sort, maybe I'll stamp it in just a basic medium blue. Or I can put this Altocumulus cloud in kind of a sunset or sunrise setting. In that case, if I'm doing something like that, I probably want to stamp it out in a color that might be kind of more within that color scheme. So we're talking about warm tones, oranges, browns, reds, purples, something like that sort. Or you can go violet, okay? It's wide open as far as color schemes go, and you don't have to go with something that's too, I don't know, too reflective of kind of what we might know as kind of realism or something like that. You can do something more impressionistic or something of that sort. You know what I mean? I mean, people aren't buying, people that are fans of Van Gogh aren't fans of Van Gogh because he, stamps some kind of photorealistic sky, okay? Or something of that sort. All right, now this is just a brown right here. Brown tends to be, I don't know, it's kind of a warm tone, but it's kind of neutral for me. All right, let's just go horizontal on this one, landscape format. By the way, these are all quarter page cards. All right, skies, you can stamp it directly across, very horizontal, or you can put a little bit of angle to it, Sometimes when you introduce kind of angles like that and a little bit of a slope, it adds a bit of extra drama to a scene, okay? It's a little bit of a visual, kind of a, there's a movement to it, you know, when you look at it, you know, someone will kind of slide down in the direction of a, it's almost like kind of visual gravity, usually. Or maybe they see it as a ramp, you know, that's going up that way. Who knows? Kind of the visual, the viewer's path will kind of be revealed when it's done, you know, depending on how it's kind of finished off too. So let's see, this is the larger cumulus, Altocumulus. Alright, something like that. You get some nice shimmering light shining on some of that. This kind of represents kind of the negative space within kind of a mackerel sky. So the white areas would be the kind of the vapor. All right. I'm going with some of these pieces up here. What I've done is I've flipped it around like so. Okay. And you'll notice that I'm not doing any masking. There really isn't any need for any masking at this point in time. Because what you want is, you don't want really crisp, kind of separations of impressions. What you want is blending to occur. So for blending to occur, what you want is overlapping to occur. All right. I'm going to put some additional Altocumulus textures down here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and inherently see these larger portions up here represent things that are a little bit closer to you, and then as it moves in the distance like that, it's kind of like going back on the horizon. So I think to really push that, just inherent in the impression itself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe off some of the ink, so that this impression down here is farther back in the distance, and to indicate that, I guess you could say, you know, it's going to be less dark. It'll be lighter, okay? Going back into the distance, okay? So something like that. And let's get another impression right here. Okay, do the same thing. And I'll do that a lot right here within the impressions. We'll push the depth with how we apply color to these, but you can kind of push it inherently with lighter impressions. Lighter tends to look farther away, okay? In natural lighting, you know. Okay. Doesn't look like really anything right now, does it? But this would be a sky going around something like this, you know, or this in the background, okay? Be a nice dramatic sky. Maybe it has some same textures in the water. Okay, so that is that. Let's try something. We were talking about kind of blending some different types of imagery. Let's go with some of this mackerel sky. Let's go with some of the Altocumulus. How's that? Let's do this. Let's kind of blot this off a little bit. Like so. Okay, we'll put some streaks in here maybe. Just for some variation in terms of value. Let's go like this. Let's really angle it. How's that? Okay. Looks kind of streaky like that. Okay. Just something like that. And then, how about, oh, we can do anything. Maybe we come back and I can put a sun underneath it. Put some rays up on those clouds, maybe. It could be a moon, kind of this moon rising. And no. This one is called Cloud Space, okay? We can mix some of that texture in there and layer it. I don't know, the possibilities are endless. This might be kind of interesting. It's kind of a mackerel sky, but it's like you're over the clouds, looking out into the distance. Could be a kind of a deep space type of thing above there. I'll tell you what, though. This kind of intrigues me. Let's try a couple of these ones here. Actually, maybe I'll stick with a warmer tone. Maybe I'll put that sun. I'll put that sun coming up from there. Yeah, let's try that. I'm gonna try a couple, I don't know, different treatments or a couple different uses of some of these designs that I haven't done before. You know, I've done a lot of compositions, of course, over the years, using these stamps, especially the ones that I've had for a long time. But there are still many, many compositions that I have never tried before, just because of the sheer number of combinations there are when you start getting up into, you know, hundreds of designs. 300 and... gosh, I don't even know what I'm up to now. 380 something? Something like that. I don't even know. I used to know all the names of all my stamps and all the codes. And somewhere along the line, it's like my internal hard drive filled up to where I don't remember. Okay, that's going to be a sky, a cloud with a sun, and we'll have this shining over this kind of I don't know, it's almost like a river of clouds, you know. Sometimes you look up into the sky and it looks like a it looks like a landscape, especially like around sunset sometime when there's a lot of clouds and there's variations up there, and it's kind of, the cloud is, the sky's churning from, I don't know, kind of a sunset to, I think I have black on this. Let me see. Yeah, that looks okay. I didn't clean my stamps yet. I've kind of been putting that off because I have like 50 stamps that I need to clean. Okay, this is the cloud bar. By the way, that was cloud with sun, large there, and I think that one's going to be, this one's going to be one where I think I'm going to try some sunlight beams coming off there with pigment ink as well. So I'll try to go for some really deep space shading in here, and we'll come back and we'll complement it with some actual rays of light coming in here. So I think we can kind of create a lot of depth in here. So I don't know, we're going for drama here. I don't know, it's kind of drama and I don't know, kind of a serene type of look as well. So you know, that's why people kind of gaze at sunsets, right? People go and hang out at certain areas and go to certain locations. We all love looking at kind of the lighting and kind of dramatic skies. Okay, let's see here. You can look back at one of my videos, one or two. It's where I love doing lightning like this, and I love it over bodies of water like this. You can just stamp it upside down for the reflection, and it makes for a really kind of a interesting kind of take on something like that. I mean, you can do it with everything, a moon or whatever. Okay, now I just did this one right here, but I was on Pinterest, I think it was, or something, and I saw this really cool photo, or I don't know if it was a photo or if it was a digital kind of creation of a, let's see, how should I do this one? I don't know, it might have been some kind of digitized creation of that scene where you're kind of over the top of some clouds, and there was like a moon coming up from those clouds. Alright, now I'm going to have a moon coming up from some of these clouds, so what I'm doing is I'm removing some of this ink right up here. Okay? Like so. I don't need to remove it when it's down here, but if it's going to be touching kind of the light source up here, then I want that edge to be nice and light. So if you want to make it light, then just remove the ink. Like right around there. Okay. And overlap. Change the angle. The clouds down here, you don't need to do any of that. Okay. You just go in there, change the angle, overlap a little bit, and you're good to go. Okay. That is that. Let's see, now let's have this full moon rising. Or I can do the full moon rising here too, with this one. That would be pretty dramatic. Or do I want it smaller? Choices, choices. Alright, now this moon here has a lot of texture around it, and I made that texture around there, that darker texture, so that when you stamp it out, when we used to have tone in, getting close to that moon, I didn't want people to have tone in all the way up to kind of this hard edge moon, so I have that tone around that. But I am going to put some tone around there up to that moon, but I'm going to blot off the edge a little bit like this, or quite a bit actually, so that when I stamp it out, there'll be a nice kind of a gradual change from wet ink to dry ink, and thus it'll go from dark to light. Okay? Just like I did with that, you know, the edge of the cloud there, you can do with the moon as well. Okay, this is my masking right here. I'm just masking out some of those clouds. Don't mask them out all the way. Have some of it showing like that. See that? Alright. So I have a good, I don't know, it's 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of them showing. Just because I don't want there to be this big, huge space in between the moon. Where do I want the moon to be? Maybe I want it over here. Yeah, I'll put it right here. I don't want there to be a big gap in between the moon and the clouds. Unless you want that. I want this moon to kind of be rising up from the clouds, so I'm kind of setting it in the clouds like so. Okay? Like that. And I have to make a choice. Do I want to add some more clouds above here? You know, which kind of be interesting like this. Like there's a, you know, this break in the clouds like that. You know, in between you can see the moon. Or I can just have it as just all open sky up there. I'm not sure what I want to do. Why don't we do a little bit of a cloud up there? Alright. Clouds below the moon are toplit, right? But if I put some clouds out here, above the cloud, above the moon, the light source, maybe they'll be bottomlit. So I'm taking my cloud cumulus, flipping it around, and I'll come into it like this, okay? Because the moon, the light, is coming from below, so you're turning it upside down like so, okay? And I'm really getting the itch already. I want to get into these and start defining some of the space in there, but let's keep coming up with some compositions here and these kind of skyscape stamp sketches. Bit of a tongue twister there. Okay, let's see some other ones here, okay? But do you see how I'm kind of overlapping and blending all of these together? All right, that's what you want to do. All right, let's do... I'm thinking of a different color scheme. Okay, I'm going for something real sunsetty and your typical blue ones. Let's play around with some colors, okay? A lot of people have their own, you know, favorite colors. Some people, you ask them what their favorite color is and they don't know. But generally people have their top, 5 or something like that. Let's do something with violet. Here's a pale violet. Violet. I didn't even know I had it. Or I don't know, I just haven't used it for. Like this sweet plum memento. Let's just use the sweet plum. But let's do kind of a, violet themed sky here, okay? Let's do, I don't know. It could be any of the deep space images, which would be interesting. The spiral galaxy, maybe. Or let's just do something here. This is called Star Cluster, okay? Now you can get variation in here too. You can color these with pens, to get different colors inherent in the impression themselves, okay? That'll give it a lot more variation inherently in the, to begin with, before we start doing a lot of coloring or something like that in our scenes, okay? Okay, now let's do something here too. Let's play around with this a little bit. Okay, here's a couple of the impressions in Sweet Plum. Let's do this. Let's try some of the pale violet right here. I still have some of the Sweet Plum on this, but let's see. Yeah, that gives it a little bit of variation right here. Okay. And what you do is you overlap. Okay. This is the violet. It's a darker version. Okay. Okay, now I'm getting some different textures in here. And I'll show you how this one comes together when I add some color into it, okay? It's almost like just a textured whole sheet, right? But we have all those nice star figures in the sky. Alright? So we'll try to get some depth in this one as well. Alright, now you see how I used some different tones here, okay? They're kind of all within the same family though, right? But let's play around with something too, before we get too much further. Okay, let me grab, here's the cloud cumulus, okay? And I think I used, what did I use? I used kind of a navy blue on it. Let's get some depth inherently within the impressions, okay? So I have it in that dark blue, okay? Now, let's switch off. Let's go with kind of a lighter tone blue. This is a Bahama blue, okay? It's more of like a medium blue, I would say. It's like 50% on the value scale. Let me wipe off a lot of this navy blue off here, okay? Okay, Bahama blue, medium tone blue, okay? This right here. Okay, I'm going kind of inward a little bit. Inward and upward. Okay, so we have two different values here. Things that are lighter tend to visually recede a little bit, and the darker things in the foreground, like what I do with my landscapes. Often foreground imagery is just in black, and you get other tones, values in the distance, and the lightest ones look like they kind of recede, the farthest from a visual standpoint. But we'll play around with this one as well. But having some other tones inherently, other values inherently in the colors right there, it gives you a bit of a head start in terms of pushing depth within a given space. Okay, something like this, but in a smaller version. Or it could be, if you're working with a half-page piece of paper, something like this, would look kind of interesting, kind of shining down on whatever landscapes you have down here. You can imagine something like that up in the sky, the lakeside cove below it, cabin, whatever. But having this little hole in the sky is like a perfect source of light for anything that you want to put down here. In terms of your subject matter, you can really direct your viewer's eye, and it makes for kind of a nice dramatic focal point as far as your lighting scheme goes. Okay, let's look at some other types of imagery. I don't have to do all of these, but I think you probably get the idea. But all of these stamps here, in terms of sky figures, they're all interchangeable, okay? You can use them in the exact same way. Where I stamped a moon, I could have stamped the star birth. I could have stamped, the spiral galaxy in its place. We're kind of pushing back farther into, some, given area within deep space. Okay, now I have this larger piece of paper. It's a half-size sheet, and I thought I would do something in that. Whatever scale or whatnot. I can use the larger. Where am I getting all these little pieces of hair from? I can use the larger cloud cumulus. Here's something too. You can use the larger cloud cumulus in a dark tone. Let's just do it. I keep saying theory, but I'll show you what we can do here. All right. Dark tone navy blue. Okay. Big stamp. Give a little leverage. Okay. Overlap. Change the angle a little bit. Okay. I was thinking about going one more. Maybe not. This one I didn't stamp out. I didn't leave that down a little bit long enough, so it's a little bit lighter, but no matter. Okay, let's go with the smaller version right here. Let's go with the Bahama Blue again. Okay. Was that the color that I just used on the other one? I think so. Okay. Let's do a little wipe off right here because I'm not sure what I'll stamp above the smaller version. So this is just using scale to represent visual distance as well. So we have all these different forms on here. If you use kind of inherently larger and smaller forms, it will create kind of a sense of depth, yet retain the continuity because the forms are the same, but just the scale is different. So, fun way to play around with something like that. I'm getting really close to doing a full page scene. I rarely do them, but I feel it's time to, I don't know, do a couple again. It really opens up, the compositional doors, so to speak. in terms of what you can do when you're talking about, having that amount of kind of real estate to work with. Thinking about putting a bank of clouds right here and having something else out here. Trying to decide what I want to do. Could be a gigantic moon, maybe. In the spirit of that, what was it? Was it a new moon, or was it what was that? What was it called? Was it called the blood moon? I can't even remember now. It was just like a couple weeks ago. Okay, here's this moon right here. It's the cloud with rising moon large. Do I want that one? That one looks pretty good. Right in that bank of clouds like that. Do I want space and stars? Galaxy. That's interesting to me. Very celestial, that's for sure. Let's do it. Let's go for that one. I love deep space imagery. I think I had a subscription to, gosh, I don't even remember the name of it. I believe it was Sky and Telescope magazine. It's the same magazine, it's called Sky and Telescope, but used to love looking through that. Just in terms of the imagery that would be in there. I loved things like celestial maps. I love maps, just in terms of a visual piece, kind of all the technical things, the I don't know, whatever they call it. It's just all the numbers and kind of grids and charts of all that. I always loved that type of thing. So things like celestial bodies like this are always something that really kind of stand out to me. Just in terms of kind of dramatic, kind of natural imagery. Maybe it's because we don't see it, here, but it's out there. All right, let's do some masking. Let's have some of this behind some of these clouds, maybe a touch. Let's go with something like that. This is the Memento Danube blue, so it's just going with something like a navy blue. It's kind of like this one here. Okay. There's my spiral galaxy in there. It'll take a lot of tone in here to bring that. I don't really want to use that texture out here again because the direction of it is fairly specific. So I'll leave that as is, but let's do something here. Let's bring in some additional clouds, maybe over the top of it like that. Or do I want to just leave that wide open? See, these are the types of questions that I have that little minor struggle with. It's like a 5-second struggle, and then I'll just kind of make a decision and move on. This would be kind of interesting. I don't know if I should have this wide open here, or if I want there to be like a break in the clouds where we're looking into there. Alright, this lesson is about depth. let's go for additional depth. So I'll put some extra clouds in here because, you know, maybe it'll look deeper, you know, having kind of this imagery on the top. Now I'm doing this one in this Danube blue, this kind of navy blue, just for some variation here. Okay, so we have kind of three different tones of blue. Okay, we have the Danube, they call that light blue from Marvy, and this one's just blue. All right. I mean, you could do all of these all in the same blue. You can do them all in black. Okay, you can do everything right there in black if you want, or any other color. If your favorite color is turquoise, then do it in turquoise or something like that. You know, have fun with it and play around with it. You're just kind of making a visual statement in terms of I don't know, preference, your tastes, things like that. You know, you want to employ all of your kind of your aesthetics into what you're stamping. So, you know, personalize things. You know, go with something that really makes you happy. If your favorite color is pink or something like that, do a pink sky. You know, something around twilight or something like that. But anyways, this one should be interesting to bring in. I love doing things like splatter painting with Dr. Martin's bleed proof white, which I think this one will be really perfect for. All right, let's do one more composition. I have one more half sheet. It's what is it? 8.5 by 5.5. 8.5 by 11, yeah. So 8.5 by 5.5, just like the last one. But let's do this one kind of flip-flopping back and forth, going portrait, you know, portrait, landscape, portrait, landscape, portrait, landscape. I get bored really easily, so I always keep things interesting by really mixing it up, you know. I might do things similar, you know, but usually not too similar, you know, from the same thing that I just did, you know, 5 minutes ago. So kind of play around with that a little bit. All right, let's take a look at this one's Cloud Space. I haven't used this in a while, so maybe let's do that. I tell you what, let's do this one. You know, I was saying you can do it in black. Let's do this one in black. Let's do a kind of a grayscale foundation right here. Oh, I know what I wanted to do too. Let me get a couple other stamps. All right. A couple different designs, kind of a little newer. All right, let's see here. All right, I'm putting everything at angles on all those ones. Let's go very kind of static, straight up and down here. Or, you know, not up and down, but across. Okay. This one's just like the Altocumulus. This one's called Cloud Space. You're stamping out basically the negative space, and the things that are white are the things that represent vapor, moisture, the clouds. Okay. You can overlap this. You can stamp it at different heights, whatever. It's one of the things that's kind of fun about your negative space imagery. You can kind of just do whatever you want with it. You can do anything with it. You can overlap it if you want to. You can stamp it in different colors if you want to, you know, for some variation in depth as well. You can stamp it like this, and I could stamp it in blue over the top of it, but in different areas, you know. It looks kind of weird, you know, like that. But when you start blending in your tones, it all comes together. If I stamp this out in black, it's a little bit ominous, you know, kind of like a Halloween thing. If I stamp it in a pale blue, light blue, suddenly it's very light and airy and very inviting. So, you know, the colors and the values that you stamp things out in will influence kind of the overall look and feel of it, okay? And that's the way it should be. You should have your imagery, you know, should be nice and versatile. You can play around with the same stamps, but in doing them in a different color, it gives you a whole different stamp. Well, it's the same stamp, but it looks different. Okay, this is... this cloud here has that nice transition from dark to light. I'm going to flip this around and come to it like this, where it's going from dark to light this way, so that the light I always have kind of poking towards the middle of this scene, okay? See those textures, you know? See what we're kind of starting to build up here? I need an image of some bats for this one. Be a really great foundation for kind of a Halloween night scene. Alright, let's put this, I'll put it up here. Okay, there's my moon. There isn't much depth at all at this point in time, right? But we will get to that, though. I'm going to leave that little opening in there. I was thinking I need a little bit of texture in there, but I was thinking maybe I might leave some room in there for like a quote. Interesting. Maybe we'll do that. Okay. We have some different stamp sketches here featuring kind of a skyscape foundations. Okay, you can see how they kind of all come together. They're overlapped, but there's not a huge amount of depth in terms of visual space within these at this point in time. Okay, this one has a little bit more because it's inherent in the values that the clouds have been stamped in. Alright, this ring is in kind of a lighter blue than this outer ring. Okay? But for the most part, they're all fairly flat in terms of visual depth, okay? I mean, there is shading in here, you know, so that, you know, these clouds are supposed to look very rounded, which they do, but for the most part, you know, it doesn't look like a huge amount of space, so we're going to stamp these out like this, and then we're going to really push the depth, hopefully, with what we do in terms of our ink applications in here. But I know that my videos get extremely long, so just like on my previous videos in terms of scale, perspective, and depth, I'll bring in some additional tones on the next video. Okay, so anyways, blend your imagery together. Don't be afraid to overlap. That's what it is really all about, and not kind of, it's kind of like your anti-careful placement of imagery. I guess I shouldn't say, I guess maybe that's not really the term or what, you know, the idea. It's not that you're not being careful. I mean, I'm being careful, but you know, you just don't have to be really super particular about where you place an image over the next. Okay, so don't get too set on matching things up, you know, in terms of an edge to edge type of thing. That's where you'll see if you concentrate on that, what you'll get is a bunch of separate images. It'll look like blocks that have been placed next to each other. So what you want is the merging of imagery. And if you'll notice on all of my designs, there's kind of a higher concentration of dots, right? And as it moves out towards the edges, okay, the dots become more sparse. And that's because I've designed them where you're going to be blending in these images with their sibling images with additional impressions of the same image in some cases. But there it is, you know. Everything is kind of inherent in the designs so that we don't have to do a lot of careful masking, and where overlapping of imagery is not only, you know, something that helps the design, but it just makes it easier to compose our scenes in that type of manner. So blend everything together, and we'll start really pushing our depth in the next video, and I can't wait to do that. I really enjoy doing that. And then one of the things, you know, what I like doing even more is doing all those little finishing little embellishments on it with pigment inks and gel pens and whatnot. So anyways, we have a lot of fun compositions right here, and I think we're in store for a decent amount of drama, you know, in these scenes right here. So looking forward to adding that tone, like I said. So hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll get to that toning on this one maybe in the next day or two.